G'day, I'm Appy Dave and I've just gone live, and what I'm looking to do today is automate one of the processes that I have. Now I'll just give some information up front before I start, is that I have a bit of a cough at the moment, so every now and then I'm probably going to cough. I apologize. Now the situation I'm trying to automate today is that I run one channel, which is Appy Dave, and I have a couple of other faceless YouTube channels that I've been developing, and I have older channels that some of them I want to reactivate, some of them I just want to see if they can grow a little bit one way or another. And so about a year and a half ago, early in the chat GPT sort of arena, I was playing around with a conversation called the 555 Manifesto, and it was the goal of, could I create 550 videos over 55 weeks over 5 different channels? Now, I've never been able to get there yet, but I'm certainly on my way as a solopreneur, I guess you could call it. Now, I have a little bit of a team, and I've just added a new person to that team. So what I might do is just pop on over to the team. And I've got Mary and Jan, and we were just having a meeting this morning, and what I want to point to and look into, if I can pick the right window, is that Mary has been helping me for the last 6 or 7 months on AI TLDR, and this is a channel on AI automation tools, and it's starting to grow and it's coming along quite well. And then we've got Jan, who's coming on board to work with winning prompts. So a lot of what I try to do with my team and with myself is automate every aspect of my business. And one of the things that happened recently is that Mary gave me this monthly review. It was a performance review back in November, and I was looking through it. She'd recorded a little video for me, and it showed how the channel was growing, how it had some good growth in November, etc. And I sat down and I was talking to her, and I said, okay, this is great. Like, this is the sort of information as a business owner, as a YouTuber, that you want to be able to receive. But I thought it'd be nice if firstly we could automate this process a little bit. My apologies, I'm going to be coughing a fair bit in this. So we sat down this morning and we had a little bit of a chat about the November monthly report. I said, what did you do? She goes, I've researched data, I've gone and looked for different information. So if we just bring up the analytics on the channel, we've got a little bit of analytical information that's here on the channel. Then after that, she used a template in Canva, which when she originally did it, took her about 2 or 3 hours to create. But now when she does it, it's about an hour and a half. And so that hour and a half is all preparation. Now she also does a video in Loom, basically a talk through of everything going on. And that's about 30 minutes of time. And I was saying, one of the things that we're trying to do towards getting to this goal of, even if whether it's achievable or not, I don't know, but 5 channels, 55 weeks, 555 videos, is need to automate almost every aspect of what's going on. In fact, even with this particular live stream that I'm doing, and I don't do them very often, it's taken 2.5 hours just to get to the point where I could hit record. So what I'd like to do in this video is actually create this monthly report that we've just seen using a little coding construct that will develop along the way, and probably a HTML presentation. Now, I don't know whether we'll succeed. It's not so much a tutorial on how to get from A to B. What this is a walkthrough of how I go from A to B and the failures that happen along the way. So let's step back to the reports, and we might actually go to a raw document that's here. So this is just some raw information that has been just scraped off the Canva presentation. And we're going to utilize tools like ChatGPT and a little bit of coding. We might go into Cursor, which is an AI pair programmer, to help write a bit of code for us, and just see where we get to from this. Now, I think what we'll do first is we'll pop up a ChatGPT window. Now, one of the things I've done is I've started talking into my phone, and it'll be a combination of me talking into my phone and displaying on screen. And the reason for that is I often use the Siri, I think it is, on the Mac to allow me to talk into ChatGPT. But the problem with Siri is it's not very accurate with its translation. It makes all sorts of mistakes. And in a live demonstration like I'm doing now, I don't want that problem. So I'll be switching between two different tools as we go. Okay, so I think the first thing we should do when we're trying to extract a report, which is just a whole lot of text at the moment, into a format where it could be shown here as a presentation, is that we kind of got to extract the data and probably have a conversation around the abstraction between what is actually data and what is actually display or user experience or layout. So let's take this particular document that we've got in front of us here. We've got this slide, and I can see that there's a heading 1, a high level heading. If this was HTML, this would be called a H1. This would be a H2. And here we've got about 4 bullet points. And then we've got some sort of image, and it's being shown on the right. Now, if we go through to the first 3, we can see that these are all pretty much the same, but styling wise, they are different. So this is a H1, and another H1 going on, just with some words. Then as we move through, we can see that there's very similar templates going on. H1s, H2s, image on the left this time, bullet points on the right. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about the layout and the structure, but let's go and look at the data as well. So we'll bring up ChatGPT, and I'm just going to go with read. And read is a custom instruction which I can just throw in a bunch of information, and ChatGPT should say read and absorbed. And this is really important because this can be considered context, and it'll go, oh, I've got some context, I'll do something with it. Well, I don't want it to do anything with it. I just want it to absorb the information. Then I'll tell it what we're going to do. Okay, so at this point, we could probably go over to our phone, and if I can find the conversation that we just started, and it sounds like you're dealing with an issue and we're on the wrong conversation. There it is. I should have had this more prepared. So we got absorbed, how can I help? And I'm going to go into conversation mode. Now let's think about what I'm going to say. I think I'm going to ask it to analyze this data and try and come up with a format called JSON. It's a data structure, and it will understand exactly what I mean when I say JSON. And I just want to split it out into the different fields, and there's probably going to be some sort of list, it's called an array in programming, of elements from this data structure. So let's go straight into that. Hi, I've just given you a document. It's actually a monthly report in raw text format. And what I want you to do is analyze it. I want you to find the structure that's in it. And then what I want you to do is rewrite it for me in a JSON format. Before you do, you probably need to think about what the fields are. You will see that there's an array, a listing going on, and keep in mind that it's actually from a presentation. So use terminology as well that might make sense for a presentation.
Got it. I'll analyze the structure of the document first. to identify the key fields and elements. Then I'll transform it into a JSON format that reflects the original content and uses terminology suitable for a presentation. Key elements in the report. 1. General information. Title, AITLR Report E24. Subtitle, Monthly Review. Performance Report. Date period, November 2024. 2. Metrics. Subscribers growth. Start count 127, end count 207 channel views. Total 2,786. Percentage increase 60%. Watch time, total hours 41. Percentage increase 89%. Subscribers. New subscribers plus 65. Percentage increase. 3. Insights. Engagement peaks, e.g. around November 1st, 2024. Demographics, age, location. Top performing content, long form videos, shorts, educational niche. 4. Challenges. Growth limitations in subscriber base. Issues with generating voiceovers. 5. Recommendations. Repurpose high performing content into shorts. Increase short form video integration. Share videos across communities. Explore more topics on AI tools for text-to-image video generation. Apply for affiliate links. Now I'll rewrite this into a structured JSON format. You can see the code in our conversation history. Let me know if this works or if you'd like adjustments.
Okay, so having conversations with AI like that is something I often do more out in the field. So a lot of the coding I do these days is just done that way, having a conversation with AI and getting it to usually shape information. So when we think of this, we've got information over here on the left, it's a report, and over here on the right, we've got it in a particular shape. Now we've actually got two shapes. One would be just a hierarchical structure, which would be good enough in a report or an email or something like that. And the next one is pretty much the same information, but now it's being shown in a JSON structure. Now, as I look through this data, let's just bring it up a little bit more zoomed in. So we've got the report title, we've got when it's for, and we've got a report period. Then we've got some metrics, which is great. And then we've got some insights, top performing content, challenges, and recommendations. Now, we got a problem in this data structure for the use case, I should say. So the actual data looks great. It looks like it's absorbed all the information from our report. It's certainly something we could feed to a computer, but it doesn't look like a presentation. And with a presentation, if we think of it as being slides with a H1, a H2, maybe some bullet points, an image on the left, an image on the right, then that's how I want the JSON document or the structure to look. And that way, because then I can feed it into some sort of software that generates presentations, and they don't know about this semantic meaning. They don't know what a channel view is. They don't know what an insight is. All they know is what a slide is and a heading or bullet points or something like that. So we will come back to our conversation and we will basically say that. This is great, but the problem is you've created a document with all the right structure for the data, but it's not targeted for the data format that I'd like to use. So basically, I'm trying to create presentations, and presentations wouldn't have any clue about things like metrics and insights and etc. All they think about is slides, and then slides might have a template, like it might be just a H1 sort of slide, or it might be a slide that has a H1, a H2 on the left, an image on the right, or it might have some bullet points or stuff like that. So the main things I think of when I'm thinking of, say, PowerPoint presentation is there's a heading 1, there might be a heading 2, there might be some bullet points, and things might be left aligned on the left-hand side panel or the right-hand side panel. There may be an image. It may take up the whole screen. So my question to you is, can you reformat this JSON while keeping the data that we've got, but in a format that it works as if it was slides?
Understood. I'll reformat the JSON to be presentation-oriented, reflecting slide elements like headings, subheadings, bullet points, and images. Each slide will have a clear structure with the necessary content in a format suited for tools like PowerPoint or Google Slides. Here's the revised JSON. You can see the code in our conversation history, explanation of the structure. 1 slides array contains individual slides. 2 templates. Each slide has a template type, title slide, text slide, image slide, etc. For clarity. 3 content fields. H1, main heading of the slide. Subheading if applicable, for listing key data. Image points to the image file, or placeholder for now. Notes, optional field for additional context or comments. Let me know if you'd like further tweaks.
Okay, so that's great. So what we've now done, we've extracted data from our report, got it into a semantically meaningful way of JSON in the first pass. And then in the second pass, we've just transformed it into a different shape that would make more sense for a presentation format. So the next thing we've got to do is go, well, how do we hook this up to some sort of visual display? Are we going to create HTML slides? Are we going to put into another sort of format that we could use a third-party tool? Maybe there's AI capabilities in PowerPoint or Canva or Gamma AI that we could use. And these are certainly great ways to go. But what I think I'll do now is I'm going to convert it into a kind of a structured programming language that Mary could just write in this language a little document, and we can then automatically convert it into a presentation. That might be a nice way to go. So what I'll do is I'll bring up Visual Studio and we will just pop it in here. And this is where we're going to write a bit of code. But before we do that, we are going to go into, what are we going to go into? I think this is the one we want. And what I've got here are little programming constructs. They're known as domain-specific languages. And let's just step back and think about what a domain-specific language is in the real world. So if you're a doctor and you're communicating with your patient, you're communicating in your native language, let's call it English. But if you're talking to another doctor or an anesthesiologist or anything like that, you're talking in a language that a lot of lay people might not understand. You'll use medical terminology. And in this situation, the domain is the medical field, and the language, the specific language, are the words that they use that makes a whole lot of sense to them, but doesn't necessarily make sense to other people. And so this is called a domain-specific language. Now, as a programmer, I operate in many software development languages: C#, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, etc. These are called general purpose languages, and they map quite readily to the human languages. English, French, German, they're general purpose languages. But there's also a class of languages like the one that we are seeing right here, called domain-specific languages. So here I've invented a language where I have this terminology that makes sense for someone who is writing documentation. And it says, okay, we'll call it documentation. Inside of it, we'll have a doc and we'll have the index document. And this is a description of what it's going to do. And then we might have a section in the documentation. We'll call it the architecture. It has a description of what it's going to do, plus a bunch of documents. And we would assume that if this ran and it did something, that it might create a whole lot of documentation files. Now, I've gone off and created a couple of others, and these are just from older playground examples, test cases that I've been doing. Like when I want to generate a bunch of graphics with Midjourney or with Leonardo AI, I need prompts. So I've got all these prompt examples going on down the bottom, but they're basically working from this little language that's designed to write that prompt file based on a design guideline. Now, if I just step over, I've got others. I've got Code Explorer and I've got Cozy Cafe, which is a cafe, and it's all the information about that cafe as it's being built and created over in Thailand at the moment. So what I'd like to do is maybe feed this information into ChatGPT. So what we'll do is we'll just do a read on this, and let's see if we can bring up ChatGPT. And I'm just going to type read and paste that information in, and we'll go to the storyboard graphics. And we won't take this information. It's, well, maybe we will, could be helpful. And we'll just say storyboard graphics. I'll give it a bit of a title, and we'll paste that in, and we'll just say documentation builder, and we'll go down to the bottom. And what's another one? We'll go with Code Explorer. I'm not sure what's going on in this, but what I'm trying to do, this is called I think it's called few shot prompting, but basically what we're trying to do is give some examples of what the data shape we actually want. So we'll just go back up to code, gather, and explore. We'll call it that for now, and we'll just paste this information in. And I've just said read because, again, I don't want it to infer anything. I just want it to go, oh yeah, I understand that. Now, sometimes ChatGPT does exactly what it's doing right now, and it doesn't listen to me. So this is where I use the term read, and that's a custom instruction. And the custom instruction wasn't actually adhered to. So what we'll do is we'll press stop, and rather than continue on, if I continued on right now, this information that it's built would pollute everything that we're trying to do. So instead what I do is I'll come up to the top of this document that I've pasted in, and I will say just read and absorb the following. And it's essentially doing the same as what the custom instruction would do. It should just say absorbed, how can I help? So now it understands the information. And what we can do is say, I think, and we'll talk to the phone in a moment, we really want to convert this data shape that we've got for the actual slides here into a programming language that we can easily write. Because the goal is that we'll write it in the programming language, and when we hit save, it should just generate the presentation for us. We shouldn't need to waste time in Canva dragging things around, figuring out templates, when the only thing that's really relevant is the data and how the data is actually displayed. So we'll come down to the bottom, and I'll bring up the phone. I've just given you an example of 3 domain-specific languages for various different problems, not the problem we're trying to solve today, but they're great to look at if you want to model a new domain-specific language. And that's exactly what we want to do. And it's essentially for a slide building tool. We want to be able to write our slides, probably want to have a little bit of metadata at the top about what the presentation is going to be about. Could be helpful with like the title of the presentation, but apart from that, the rest of it's slides. And I've already previously given you data in the form of JSON, in the form of slides that we want. So whatever programming language we go with should map pretty cleanly to this JSON document. You okay with that?
Absolutely. I understand the goal is to create a domain-specific language, DSL, tailored for a slide building tool, which should allow for simple, intuitive creation of slides with metadata at the top and map directly to the JSON slide structure we discussed earlier. Key features of the DSL. 1. Metadata section contains details like the title of the presentation, author, and date. 2. Slide definitions. Each slide specifies its template, title slide, text slide, etc., includes headings, bullet points, images, and optional notes. Example DSL syntax. Here's a potential DSL that could be cleanly parsed into the JSON structure. You can see the code in our conversation history. Why this works. 1. Intuitive syntax. Easy to read and write for non-programmers or casual users. Clear mapping to JSON structure, e.g. bullets to bullet points, template to template. 2. Extensibility. Adding new slide types or metadata fields is straightforward. 3. Clean JSON conversion. A parser can easily translate this DSL into the JSON format we discussed earlier. Would you like me to expand on parsing this DSL or suggest tools/libraries for implementing it?
No, I don't want you to suggest tools. This is using my own language construct, which is called Clueless, spelt with a K, by the way. And you've made a little bit of a mistake with the data shapes. Now what you've done is followed a JavaScript style of convention, and that was not what I had in any of the examples. I had a Ruby convention. So can you just reformat it for me, please?
Got it? Let me reformat the DSL to align with a Ruby-style convention for your Bluelist language. Here's the revised version. You can see the code in our conversation history. Changes made. 1. Ruby-style syntax. Replaced curly braces with do end blocks. Used method-like syntax for keys, author, date, template. 2. Array style. Replaced JavaScript-style arrays with Ruby-style arrays, but kept them inline for readability. 3. Alignment with Bluelist. Matches the design language and readability typical of Ruby-like DSLs. Let me know if further refinements are needed.
Okay, so I think we got something we can work with. So I've just pressed the copy button. It's now in my clipboard. And what I think we can do is come over to Visual Studio, and we'll get out of this particular project and we'll bring up a new one. And what we're going to do is we'll just call it November report.clue, and we'll just paste the information as we see it directly into the system. Now you would have seen that this popped up. Now let's just have a look at why that happened. We'll bring up a terminal, I believe. So this is the directory we're currently working in, I think. LSA. Okay, now we're operating in the wrong directory, so let's go and delete that file. Let's move this over here. Let's give ourselves an ls, and we can see the clue file, which is great. And what I've done down here is I'm running a little program which is just watching this particular folder. And the goal is that if I save anything here, it should create a JSON version of it, which is going back to data. So we'll clear that out and we'll hit save, and we have this file. And if we move it over here to the right, we can get out of the terminal for a moment, and we should see a one-to-one match. Now, the good thing about this is that I can read this fairly well. Any programmer would be able to read it, and a lot of people in business, solopreneurs, might also be able to read it. But a DSL just brings it a bit closer to the format that as a human who's just used to reading regular text could read it. And the good thing about this structure is that it's dynamic. So I'm just thinking, let's say this presentation was going to become a video in the future. So I might just create an area called YouTube, and we'll just say do, and we'll just say, actually, we'll let Copilot, which is a tool built into VS Code, type in information for us automatically. And so imagine that you're writing this documentation, and just like we saw there, it's automatically creating it for you. You don't even need to think. Now, it won't necessarily get the views and the counts right, but you can come in and change it. But apologies for the cough. As I hit save, we should see inside of presentation, because this information here is inside of presentation, we should just see the metadata get updated. So I'll hit save, and bam, there it is. We've got YouTube, we've got channel, parameter 1 is AI TLDR, which stands for AI too long didn't read. The subscriber count is 207. The views are 2,786, and the watch time is 41 hours. Now let's say we don't want this information. We just come over here and we hit save, and the data is gone. So we're already off to a pretty good start, because we've got this programming language that has been generated. It might be useful to go back to our web views for a second, and everything we did just came from this raw document. So the raw document came about. I'm wondering if we can bring up VS Code at the same time. We've got a format misalignment. Let's just fix that while we're in the middle of a live stream. Gotta love that one. Code, I think that's the one we want. So we've got our raw data going on here. We've got over here, we've got the, actually we didn't go straight to that. We used ChatGPT actually. So we'll come back to our ChatGPT view, and we took it into this format. Then from this format, we reformatted it into the slideshow format. Then from the slideshow format, we reformatted it into a DSL. It made a little bit of a mistake, so we just improved on that mistake, got it working. We come back to our code, and now we can just type information, and we've automatically got JSON. So the next step is, how do we visualize this? And that'd be an interesting problem, which may be beyond what we can do in this live talk, but we'll see what we can do. Now, one of the things I haven't really talked about, and let's just go down to the terminal, is when I ran this watcher over here, and we'll just start it again, it's basically watching any file that ends in the word clue, and it's generating an enhanced JSON document. Now it does have another capability called URL, so it can actually send that information directly to a web server or a webhook if I wanted to. Now this is a work in progress, so I'm not actually going to do that today. But the reason that could be useful is that you can just work on the document here, hit save, and suddenly it's in the cloud, like instantaneously, because you can send all that data, which is the information we're seeing over here on the right, to the web server, and it could actually generate the presentation for you. But we are going to go to a different technique today. We're going to head back to our GPT, and we might actually do the GPT with the code so we can see what's going on. And we'll close this, and we will close this. This cold that I've got, or cough, is really problematic. So we come down here and we say, we'll just say read, and I'm going to do and absorb, do not respond, because I don't want to deal with the custom instruction being ignored again. Okay, we're there, and we'll say, and I wonder, let's use Siri this time. So I'm going to double click. I would like to turn this JSON document into a presentation in HTML. What I think I need from you is a requirements document only for doing a simplistic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript implementation. Do not apply any sort of CSS framework or JavaScript framework, because I might use an AI pair programmer where that sort of stuff has already been dealt with. Now what we'll do is we'll go into canvas mode, because canvas mode is this great capability within ChatGPT where we can go into a more written format. So we'll go back to GPT and we'll run this. And it's just going to convert it into a markdown document. Now, if I was doing this for real, I'd probably read this a little bit more, but generally it works 90% of the time. And this is what I love about AI, is that even if it doesn't work today, this will be the worst it ever works. This gets better over time. So it's figured out some concepts. It's given an example. It's got a non-functional requirement. That's not really relevant for the example that we're doing today, but this is good. What I think I'll do is I'm just gonna, do we build the application? Yeah, let's just build the application. Can you create another document, please? And can this just be the code to implement this? And can you assume that the data is in this file? And what we'll do is we'll just come over to the right view, which is this one, and we'll just copy the relative path. And so that's the file that we want to read. And we better also say, can you create another document with just the HTML, basic CSS, and JavaScript to implement. And I can't spell, and I've got some grammar issues, but ChatGPT doesn't really care. It'll probably do a good job. And unfortunately, it's rewriting over the top of the original document. That's okay. Kind of it's okay. So we've got some CSS coming through at the moment. We've got some HTML. This is already malformed, so this is a bit of a problem. And this is what happens when you don't figure out how to separate it and get it to create a secondary document. So we just got to let it finish, I guess. We got the JavaScript code that's going to render the slides for us. We've got the JSON document, which has not followed what I said at all. So I almost feel like what I want to do is start again on this one, because it'll be harder for me to back out of this than to fix it. So what you can do is you can come up to this little button here and restore back to the left. Is that right? Yeah. So we got this, and we've lost our question. So I'm going to head over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, I would like you to create a little HTML page that uses some JavaScript to grab information from, actually, maybe that's the problem. I don't have a server. That I'm going to give you, and you're going to create a little slide deck HTML presentation. I'm going to give you all the requirements document as well. And we just go and fix, hey, turn off Siri, HTML, and we come back to our previous document and we copy it and we come over here and we paste it in and we let it do its work. So now what it's doing is creating HTML. We've got some styling in the form of CSS going on here. We've got a body, and there shouldn't be too much going on in here because the body HTML is actually going to be dynamically created by the JavaScript. We've got the actual JavaScript data. This is just some example actually. And then we've got the JavaScript that's going to create slides for us individually. Now, one of the other things going on in the HTML, looking at this, is that there's a presentation and then there's slides and then there's navigation. So it looks like we're going to have a previous and a next button in this as well. So I think we can just go and copy on that. We'll head over to the VS Code. let's go create a new file. We'll call it present, I guess, .html, HTML, like that. And we'll paste it all in and we'll hit save. Now, I haven't tested this, so we don't know whether we're going to have it work for us, but what we can do is bring up our presentation or a web page. We'll come over here and we'll just right click on it, and I've got a plugin called Live Server, so this will just run it for us if it works. And here we go. AITLDR report 2024. Author John Doe, November, test slide title, November 2024. This is the introduction, and we got 3 different slides. So where are they coming from? They're coming from here. So here are our 3 slides. What I'm going to do is just add in one more slide, and the good thing is Copilot should actually kick in a moment. So I'm just going to say conclusion, and I'm going to say like that, and hopefully, oh, where am I? You know why I've done this wrong. I'm not in the right tool. Let's come back to here instead. And I was writing it into ChatGPT. So we'll go here and we'll paste this in and we'll fix up any problems, and we'll just say comma, and can you see what I can see? We'll just say comma. And unfortunately, there it is. We've got our data. Now, is this going to work? We'll come back to our page. We should, we've got 4. That's good. So let's go to the web view and see what happens. We've got our subscriber count. We've got our revenue analysis. And the 4th one, which I just added in manually, should be a conclusion. And we got a conclusion. So this works. It's not pretty. We can improve on that. But this is a really interesting workflow, is that if you're a solopreneur and you're trying to solve problems and you go, geez, do I hire a developer? Do I use a no-code tool? And you go, no, you just build it yourself. It's actually relatively simple to do this. One of the areas that I'm actually trying to get up and running, I'll just bring up GPT view again, is winning prompts. So the winning prompts YouTube channel, I started it like right back at the beginning of the ChatGPT era because I thought prompt engineering would be an incredibly interesting topic to talk about. In fact, I love prompt engineering. I think anyone, if they want to succeed in the AI world, knowing how to communicate with AI is incredibly important, and that's what prompt engineering is about. And so when I set up this channel, and I had some initial success based on another channel I was doing really, I got to about 750 subs, and then I just didn't have the energy to keep doing winning prompts. But I'm kicking it off again at the moment, and the types of prompts that I'll be developing for this channel are single micro application prompts. This is where a one-shot prompt for an application that you might want to build is given to you, and you just put it into an AI pair programmer and it generates the application. So I think it might be useful while we're doing this to see if we can improve on this application by taking that technique. So let's head over to a GPT web view. We're over here now. We've got this presentation builder code. That's okay. We come back to here and we come back to our requirements document, because this is what I would call the one-shot prompt. It's written in a format that you could give to a programmer. Because we're dealing with micro apps, it's not, it should succeed, like quite often. If it was a complex app, this would not succeed. Not today. In another couple of weeks it will. I don't know. So let's just head over to, what do I want to use? Replit. Yeah, we'll go to Replit. Right. So I started playing around with Replit. I don't even know how to use it properly, but we'll give it a whirl. And we'll say create Replit. And I'm just going to paste it in. So whatever we got, I'm just, oh geez, Why did that happen? So we press copy. Okay, let's paste it in this complex document, and we'll just start building. Now, I think one of the things, this will be more powerful. The last one we did was just a static HTML page. The data was embedded in the page. This one, I know with Replit, it'll do all the HTML for us, but it'll also create a server, which means we should be able to deliver the data for the presentation as a separation. It doesn't need to be in the HTML. Now, I'm not a React programmer. I think it probably will use React. Let's see what it said. I'll help you create a presentation using vanilla, which is good, HTML, JavaScript and CSS, served by Flask, which is a web API in Python. The implementation will focus on clean, framework-free code. Excellent. That can render presentations from JSON data. Would you like to proceed? Yes, I would. Now, while that's happening, let's just go back to Visual Studio for a second, and we will go and find our document. It's not the report we want, it's the enhanced data. So we'll just put that into our clipboard, come back to whatever is being created. It might have been premature putting it into the clipboard because there may be bugs. I might have to do some stuff, but we're getting an application, main pie. We've got the HTML, we've got the CSS styling. This is great. We've got the presentation JS. This is perfect. It's written it in the same way. It's not written it the same way as we did in Canvas in ChatGPT, but it should be fairly simple. It's installing. Don't you hate it when you've got a cold and it just doesn't go away? I got this cold before Christmas and it's just been hammering me all the way over Christmas and the new year. So it's thinking. Now, just so you know, with Replit, I think this is costing me about 25 US cents to do this. Each time you do an agent call, it's 25 cents. But this is, oh, look at that. It's looking nice, looking very bootstrappy or something. That's just a screenshot, and that's it working. Cool. Very nice. So we got our presentation built. But remember, I put some data into the system. So let's just see. They've got this open files. Do we actually have the... I don't know what's going on here. We've got JavaScript. I doubt we've got data there. We've got presentation. Okay. Let's use Siri now. I'm going to give you a JSON document that we're meant to be reading from. And what I need you to do is serve it up and make it available to the presentation. Now, I think I'm going to make life a little bit easier than just pasting it in, because it looks like we're going to attach file. So let's figure out how that works. Where's our JSON document? It's there. I don't think you can see it in the live stream, but that's okay. We got the JSON document, which is just what I had. I think I'm gonna, and I was talking with Siri going, so let's undo that as well. And let's just see whether it can take now it's meant to be pronounced spelled JSON. It's not actually Jason the name, but Siri doesn't know better. So I think we didn't manually update that JSON document. That JSON document we've never actually used before, actually. So we're probably going to see something different. It's needing to refactor code as it goes to fit the shape, and it's failed. So we may be at the end of our live stream, because these sorts of things could be fixed in 10 seconds or 10 hours. That's the nature of programming. Pain in the bum, to be honest. I'm I noticed there are errors, so it's trying to resolve the errors itself, so that's a good thing. And okay, what do we got? Took a screenshot, still failed, so no good. And another problem that I may run into is that it might just get into an infinite loop, and I'm not sure with Replit whether they charge you 25 cents every time something screws up, but I have run into this problem before with other AI pair programmers, so it may, as I said, be that we just stop it. Okay, taking a screenshot. This is going to be our last one. That's definitely got to be our last one. I don't even know how to revert back to the older version, because as you remember, we did actually have this working. So we'll leave it at that. But I think maybe we could go into one more technique. Let's go into a third technique. And how are we going to do that? Can I stop this guy? I'm going to let it run for a bit, and I'm going to come back to our JSON document, which I've got, and I'm going to come back to ChatGPT, and we'll bring up ChatGPT here, and I'm just going to say read, and this is our raw data, our presentation. Okay, and I'm just going to say, can you format this into a text-based report? Do keep distinction on the fact that there will be different slides and that there is a heading slide, but just write it in natural language. Now, this is a test that, again, it's something I don't know how to use. We're working stuff out on the fly. And when I say I don't know how to use it, what I mean is that there is an application out in the real world, and this just needs to stop. Look at that. Oh, hang on, did it work? Geez, maybe I pressed stop too early, because look at that. We've got a screenshot with 6 slides. So let's hit run on this, just see if that happens. And while it's doing it, we're going to go into a product called Gamma. Sorry, I wasn't showing the right screen. So there's the screenshot. Is it running? Maybe. We'll go into Gamma, and we are going to create a new presentation. And looks like you can just paste in text. So we'll click on the paste in text, and we will come back to the report, which is here, that I had, title slide, and closing remarks. Let's just see if we can use all of that. Now you can do presentations. We could even create it in a web page. Let's just go with that. While that's happening, did this actually end up working? Not that I can tell. Oh, yes, it did. Oh, look at that. How cool is this? This is working. So the first example, where is the first example? Here's the first example. This was created using Canvas, where we just manually had it write the code for us. And that works pretty good. Then we go to this one, and now we've got an actual report being driven off the JSON data. Where the heck is that? I can't see it. Anyway, doesn't matter. And lastly, we've got Gamma. So Gamma is a tool, and here's some really cool stuff that we can do with it. We can pick a theme. I'm going to go with this thing. This is a preview. Okay, great. What do I do now? Generate. And anything to change here? Don't know. So now we've got our report. Oh, look at that. And you would have noticed when we were doing the JSON version of it, I had this idea of template type for different layouts. Well, when you use an AI tool like Gamma, you don't even need to worry about that. This is just done automatically. I wonder how you actually use this. I'd like to present. I can change. Oh, there it is behind my camera. Oh, very beautiful. This is awesome. Okay, so a few issues in the data, but this has been created. Okay, so let's head back to there. We're going to call that a wrap. I'm Happy Dave, and what I generally do is talk about prompt engineering, AI agents, and coding with AI. I have the channel that you've seen, AI TLDR, which is where my team member Mary, she creates faceless YouTube channels on different AI tools. And then we got Winning Prompts that is coming online soon, and that'll generally be prompts that solve individual programming problems for business owners. So if that's something that you're interested in, then like and subscribe. I'll probably put a link down below so you can subscribe to an email list, or if you want to connect with me. Anyway, that's it. Now I got to figure out, it's 56 minutes. How do you stop this thing? There we go, finish. Goodbye. Please like and subscribe. I'm Happy Dave.